With great power comes great respect.
That was the wrong message. Okay, I'm early on this one. Let's start off with episode 6 because this show got me liking it way more, specifically because of episode 7, but let's get to that. It starts off with Lonnie getting kicked off the football team. Lonnie's descent is one of the things that you would never expect to be this good in a Spider-Man TV show. A side character having such a well thought out plot line to where he descends into being a bad guy, or specifically not a bad guy, but somebody who gets with the wrong crowd and does the wrong thing. It is really compelling and I love his story this season. Peter wants to have Nico and Harry bond more because he believes they can all be friends, and it's nice to see a friend like Nico, which is a creation from this show, and Peter's original friend having to get together and bond because of Peter wanting them to be together rather than, you know, them already being a established group of friends. It takes time and it shows like they have to become friends. You can't just throw anybody into a friend group. That doesn't happen like that ever in life. So with them having to do that, it gives them something to do instead of just being side characters that are just with Peter all the time. They have to connect on their own, which is a great way to show a character and their flaws and their personality. Peter gets pulled away because Oscorp Tower is being infiltrated, and Norman pulls him away as he's talking to General Thunderbolt Ross, which is crazy because he's about to be in Captain America tomorrow. So it's nice seeing him, you know, in his younger form, and it reinforces how the universe has slight changes to the MCU. Like, this is basically a MCU show, but it just has different like outcomes from the MCU. Like, instead of Peter being with the Avengers go do their own thing. Like, the Sokovia Accords are a thing, and Thunderbolt Ross still is talking about the Sokovia Accord because it just happened. Like, these things are, I guess, like right after Civil War, so they're still hunting down Captain America. And Norman even says that. He also says that Spider-Man is working for him, and he uses the alias for Peter as his bodyguard instead of, you know, Peter to protect his identity, which is good. Peter runs into freaking Daredevil when he goes to check the Oscorp Tower, and it's Charlie Cox, bro. This is crazy, and his theme plays in the background. That shit was so lit. I'm so excited to see Charlie Cox. I do have an issue with his outfit though. Like, why does he have a black fit on? Why can't they just make this fit red? And why can't they give him the logo? And then horns with no mask with the black suit. It's kind of crazy. It's a weird situation, but they are really afraid to give Daredevil his double D on his chest. Even his live action suit doesn't even have it still, and it's like, it looks weird. He just looks like some random guy running around in body armor. He doesn't look like Daredevil. It's weird. It's weird. I don't know, man. I don't know. They are afraid to show his logo for sure though. Spider-Man really fights Daredevil, bro. Like, we get an actual Spider-Man Daredevil fight, and it's all right, and conceptually it's the best thing we could ever get ever, but in practice, bro, this show's animation, I will not step off this horse. This animation is not fit for this show. This show is way too good for the way it's animated. It is an amazing TV show. It's probably one of the best MCU shows they have put out ever, but this freaking animation style, I can't get with it, bro. I hate it. I hate it so much. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan at all. It's just, it makes the scene so mediocre and underwhelming, bro. It's just, oh my god, like, I can't even get with it. But episode 7 does give me a bit of hope for the end of the season, because that episode is my favorite episode of the season because of the fight in that episode. We will get to that though. I will talk about that as soon as I get there. But for now, this fight scene really set me the wrong way, bro. I know the animation team's doing their best. It's just the animation style just wasn't gonna work from the jump. I understand that they tried their best and they try to make a move as well as possible, but it just doesn't look finished to me. I don't hate the entire show for the animation. Like, when they're regular talking, it's fine, but the fight scenes are the problem for me. Daredevil reveals that Norman is hiding something from Peter, which is interesting because this whole time we've been believing that Norman been doing the right thing, but you can't put being evil past Norman, and he might not even be evil. It might just be some corporate stuff that he doesn't know about, but at the same time, it's his subverting our expectations. We don't know what's going to happen. Daredevil beats Spider-Man. He's unknown to Norman, which means he isn't Devil in Hell Kitchen yet, which would line up with his timeline in the show because the show started in 2015, I think, and currently right now should be between 2016 and 2017. That's when Civil War took place. So I mean, it's between season 1 and 2 of Daredevil, so they probably don't really know who he is yet. I wonder how Matt is affected by the Sokovia Accord, because clearly some heroes come out to stop villains. Like, in the next episode we'll see, or in the next couple episodes we'll see a hero come and stop a villain, but like clearly people come out to stop people. So I wonder how they thinking about Daredevil out there running around beating people up at night. Peter talks to Norman about the fight, and Peter remembers that he left his friends and he has to go back to his friends, and Nico ends up finding out that he's Spider-Man because Harry revealed it, which is so stupid. I cannot stand that that 3 people already know. That takes so much tension away from the situation. Peter can just go to them and be like, oh, well, cover for me real quick now. And he can just get away with being away from class and all that without people questioning him. We like to see Peter have to deal with that situation and how he has to swivel his way out of talking to people. Like, it's not like they can just like keep it the same way. Like, the dynamic's gonna change for the show. He's gonna be in class and he can be like, oh yeah, I gotta do this. Or he can go to Norman and be like, I need a way out, so I need you to call me in. Or Harry or Nico. What's it gonna be, Aunt May next? Like, come on, bro. We don't need everybody to know his secret identity. That's crazy. That's insane. At this rate, everybody gonna know. For real. I guess that's fine. Scorpion finally gets his suit, and it's subtle, but it's very effective. It looks really good in the next episode. I freaking love it. Speaking of the next episode, let's get into episode 7. This is my favorite episode of the season so far. This episode got that shit. Let's get into it. So Peter struggles with Nico knowing his identity. Nico is upset about Peter keeping a big secret from her, which is understandable, but at the same time, Peter's trying to protect her, so it's not really nothing he can really do too much about that. Lonnie and Pearl have issues. He pushes her away, and she has no idea why, and she goes to lengths to figure out why this man is away from her this episode. Norman and Peter work on trying to find Otto. Norman says Otto can't possibly harness the power of the sun, which is hilarious because, you know, the power of the sun in the palm of my hands. You know how I go. Otto is using gamma radiation, which is crazy. I don't think that's fucking safe at all. It's insane, actually. Harry and Nico take time to talk about Peter and him finding his secret. Nico is scared of Peter leaving her behind like everyone else did for her in her life because her parents left, and you know she's a runaway, so you know her parents are probably like evil or some shit. Norman is very occupied with trying to find Otto, though. He takes it to the extreme level later on in the episode because he is very careless with how he treats Peter and his situation. Peter swinging in this episode actually looked kind of good. I actually kind of liked it a lot. I'm telling you, I liked it a lot. His swinging looked good. I think the animation budget went up this episode because the fight scene in this episode, oh, I freaking love it. And the animation was way better in this episode than any other episode. I don't know why it took so long, or maybe it's just the impact of the fight for me. I just like the stakes that they have for the fight. We can talk about that later though. Nico races. Yeah, we don't really care, but she has powers of some sort, and you know she's a runaway, whatever, all that other stuff that we'll figure out later on in the season or next season or whatever. Pearl finds Lonnie and Scorpion breaks in. This scene, man, I love the fight scene between Peter and the Scorpion. I freaking love this fight scene so much. It has so much impact. Peter gets the upper hand at first, then he runs out of web fluid after he webs Scorpion up, but then Scorpion breaks out because he overheats his suit and he goes crazy on Peter and he freaking breaks his goggles and like stabs him in the back and then starts beating him down. It's crazy. This is probably one of my favorite fight scenes in the season so far, bro. I loved it, and it was so much weight, and then Peter couldn't even get away. The only way he got away was for Norman to send help, and Norman had left him for real because he was trying to find Otto so bad. So he left him and he got stabbed. He's like, oh shit. So he sent his Goblin Guider down to save his Goblin Guy. We gonna see Green Goblin eventually, bro. We gonna have to. Even if it's not Norman, we gonna see Green Goblin or maybe Hobgoblin. And then the end credits for this episode too, since Peter got beat down, it isn't the happy-go-lucky thing that we normally got that's playing in the background right now. It's a sinister thing because he got his ass whooped and it's not good for him. He is not looking good at all. I fucking love this episode, bro. It was so good. All right, episode 8. Peter wakes up in the hospital. Nobody seen his face somehow when they were operating on him, and they took his blood. So I don't know how they don't know who he is for real. Peter and Norman talk. Norman tells him he needs to be better, and if he isn't, they shouldn't work together, which is crazy. Like, hearing your mentor say that to you is kind of wild, and it really reinforces like that Norman isn't the right mentor for him. Like later on this episode, he gonna say some stuff, and it's like it's not good at all. It should be at the start of this review for real. It's not. It's his lesson that he gives him, not the right one. This show really plays with the audience though, knowing that we know details about Spider-Man, throwing little hints in like Oscorp becoming like a lab full of animals and all that. Like Oscorp always deals with making animal themed villains for Spider-Man. You know how I go, and they subvert expectations a lot, man. Like we know the story of Spider-Man, and they keep to the story while, you know, throwing little things in there to confuse us, and it's great. It's great. Otto gets raided by the feds and almost escapes, but then Iron Man shows up to arrest him for violating the Sokovia Accords. That whole sentence I just said was crazy, because this is what we should have got in the MCU. This is what we should have seen in the MCU, not just regular, oh, the Sokovia Accords is cool and then boom, we're done. No, let's get actual heroes rounding up villains, because that's what the whole like process was. Said between Iron Man and Steve that the Sokovia Accords were like, they're not gonna respect it, but at the same time, you have to respect it because you're a working superhero. Like after Civil War, he already signed the Sokovia Accord, so what was he doing after? And clearly this is what he would have been doing. He would have been stopping villains like Otto. Peter is having nightmares about failing and wanting to connect with his friends and letting down Nico for real, when he didn't really let her down, but in his mind he's letting people down, and I completely understand that. Peter is a really good guy. He just wants to do the right thing, but he's a kid and he doesn't know how to handle things the proper way. So it's like, you know, he needs a mentor to guide him, and I don't really think he got the with great power message from Ben, so he doesn't really know what to do at the moment. He's just learning his lessons. He's learning how to use both sides of his life properly. Like he doesn't know how to handle being Spider-Man and being Peter Parker, which makes sense. Lonnie continues to have his downfall and breaks up with Pearl. Peter overhears the conversation and Peter tries to ask him to stop. Like, you about to die, bro. Like, he knows what happened, but he can't really say nothing to him, and Lonnie just doesn't listen, and he thinks he's the one who has to step up. So Peter still feels like he's failing, so he tries to find someone to connect with, and he goes and talks to Norman, and then Norman is like an adult father figure to him, so he talks to him and Norman gives him advice, but it's the wrong one. It's with great power comes great respect, and that's not how it's supposed to go. Like, him being a hero gives him the respect. He doesn't need the respect because of his power. He earns it because he does the right thing. And telling him not to pull his punches because the villains aren't, it's like, man, like, this is not the right advice you should be having. And this really shows that Peter should be on his own. He should not be following anybody. He should not be working with no tech company. He should just be himself. And then after that, the gang and Lonnie eventually meet up with Chameleon, of all characters, for info on Doc Ock's tech. And Chameleon was in the previous episodes. I didn't even realize that he was rolling with the unicorn girl. Ugh, I hate her. But yeah, he was rolling with her. He was the one driving. You know, I had an issue with them keeping Spider-Man villains out, but we got Tombstone, Chameleon, Doc Ock, and Scorpion. I ain't got a problem. I was like tripping, like, man, we only got random villains in episode 6, but really we have a lot of Spider-Man villains now. They're just not really interacting with Peter just yet. They're just out of the loop, which is fine. So my needs have been met. But Harry eventually talks to Peter and gives him some advice. You know, he says to Peter, like, he's not Spider-Man, you are. And he gives him a new Spider-Man costume and says, go get him, Tiger, which is hilarious. But and they only show the reflection in the glasses. They don't really show the suit yet, which is fine. Keep it for next episode. I could wait till next week. I want to wait till next week. Yes, I do have an issue with this though. I don't like that people keep giving him suits. I want him to create his own Spider-Man costume. I don't want it to be a super high-tech suit. If it gets damaged, he can't make another one. I want it to be him being able to create his own costume with his own web shooters. He does not need anybody like Osborn or Stark. He needs himself. He is a tech genius. But it is such a good way to tease us with that suit, man. It was such a good way to tease us with that suit. And this show has cameos and good storytelling and good side characters. This is a really good show, bro. I'm really excited to see where they take it next. You know, I do want to see this show continue to take on the world of the MCU though. Like, all right, we got the Sokovia Accords now. Say if we get to Avengers Infinity War and we have to see what, you know, what happened with Thanos. Like, did he come to Earth? Did they have to fight him during the invasion? Like, what happens when Endgame comes around? Do anybody get blipped? Did anybody die in Infinity War? Like, did it happen? I want to see it. Like, they could show us the stuff they didn't show us beforehand. Like, you know, in Spider-Man movie, they showed us, oh, the blip, they came back. Oh, we're back to normal. What about the repercussions of half the population disappearing? What are you going to do when that happens? What if Spider-Man's still there and has to protect people while this event happens, and then you do a time skip and you show him like, okay, he got used to people being gone and people just come back. There's so many different ways they could take this story, and I want to see what they do, man. I just want to see the rest of this show, bro. I want to see the next episode. I want to see the original Spider-Man costume. I can't wait. I can't wait till next week, man. I try to make these shorter, but man, I got a lot to talk about. It's 3 episodes. Like, if it was 1 episode, I could cut it down to, you know, like under 10 minutes, but man, I have a lot to say. I have a lot to talk about. I'll see y'all next week when I do the next review, and maybe tomorrow with Captain America. I'm gonna go see that early too. All right, I'm out.